maybe,
I
go
know,
up a little bit.
it's not too far.
But I mean, some is,
We'll do Novellus first and then go into executive session after, is what he's asking. Right, Mike?
Okay, well,
What did you do, treasurer?
we are recording now.
okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Oswego County Industrial Development Agency meeting of October 18th, 2022. And before we begin, I'd like to have Austin Wheelock introduce the guests and the staff in attendance. Then I'm gonna have Len Schick do a roll call vote of all board members to ensure we have a quorum. So Austin?
Sure. So in attendance as guests today is Casey Bunce from Novellus and John Piscatelli from Novellus, as well as Morris Sorbello, who is joining over the phone. And then in terms of staff, Mike Treadwell, CEO of the IDA, and Austin Wheelock, staff of operation at Oswego County. And Kevin Caracoli, legal counsel to the IDA and operation at Oswego County.
Thanks, Austin. Len, you wanna do just a quick
Sure. Gary Toth,
present?
Mark Greco,
Present.
Nick Canale,
Present.
Tim Stahl,
Present.
Barry Trumbull,
Present.
Tricia Peter Clark,
Present.
Len Schick is present, that's unanimous.
Okay, so we have a quorum and we're good to go. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you for the representatives from Novellus for being part of the meeting. And Morris, it's always good to hear from you. So
Thank you, Gary.
the first item on our agenda is a minutes of September 28th. That was in our portal. Everybody get a chance to look at them?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Tricia Peter Clark to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Barry Trimble. Are there any additions, errors, or corrections in the minutes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are carried. Okay, notice of the meeting was published in the Palladium Times on October 5th, 2022. Now, item number 3, the treasurer's report. Do we do these individually, Mike, or can we join?
You can do it together.
I'll move June and July's
Okay.
treasurer's report.
All right, June 30th, 2022 and July 31st, 2022. I have a motion by Len Schick to accept the treasurer's report as written. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Tim Stahl. Any comments or questions on the treasurer's report? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we're gonna jump down to number 8 on our agenda. Novellus Corporation, we have a couple guests from Novellus, John Piscatelli and Casey Bunz. And, I guess who's gonna start it out, talking about Novellus and,
Well, we'll let them just jump in and, we did have the public hearing was held in the town scribe, so, were you at the public hearing? Overflow crowd, I understand.
Oh, huge crowd. Overwhelming. 2 people.
okay, so John, Casey, whichever wanna go first,
Sure.
Awesome.
Quick little introduction about ourselves and why we're here. So I'm John Piscatelli, I'm the Capital Projects Manager. I report under Kristen Nelson, who's the plant manager at Oswego. I've been there about 12 years. I've been doing these kind of work about 30 years. So I got a little bit of experience under my belt. This particular company I'm working with now is the 5th company I've worked with in New York State since I've lived here, but is by far the biggest, largest investor of any organization I've ever worked with in my life. They're just putting tons of money into this place. It's really good. It's good to have too much work, right? I'd like to just start that off because I think it's important that we develop this relationship because there's a lot of things I think we can both help each other with. You know, they're very integrated into Oswego County. They're very integrated into the school systems and education. They've got a lot of volunteer programs. It's just a really good organization. So this particular application, as you know, is for the pilot. And it's, I think it's $360 million over the next 5 years or so, 4 years of investments that I'm responsible for a significant portion of that. Many upgrades coming, and I guess we are here to answer any questions you guys might have. Try to you know, facilitate any answers that you need if we can't get them here. So, does that sum it up?
Oh, yeah, John, could you just briefly describe, what is going on at Novelis right now as far as the machine's installation and what?
Absolutely. So the project, there's several projects, but the biggest project going on right now is what's being termed as our Oswego expansion project. It is essentially, we are taking the largest motor in our plant and we're replacing it with a larger motor. It's the reversing mill. It's called a breakdown mill. It's where our aluminum is, you know, crushed from 28 inches down to 1.5 inches. That motor is going to be upgraded from a two 6,000 horsepower motors to two 9,000 horsepower motors. I'm sorry, 4,000 to 9,000. So it's a significant upgrade, as you can imagine. That also requires the drive shafts between the motor and the rolls to be upgraded. So there's an upgrade there. That drive shaft alone is a $10 million drive shaft. There's two of them, you know. So there's those upgrades. Those allow us to increase our speed, but if you increase speed, you have to increase water flow in our coolant system. So we have to upgrade our coolant system. The numbers that come out were currently we operate at 6,000 gallons a minute. We're going to 12,000 gallons a minute. The existing coolant house is too small to be able to upgrade that, so we have to build a new coolant house. So one of the buildings we're building is a new coolant house. Downstream from our hot mill, where I just described, is our cold mill. In the cold mill, there's secondary operations that take place in the coils through annealing furnaces, and as a result of this addition and this capacity increase, we have to add 3 more furnaces. There's no place to put the furnaces, so we had to expand the cold mill. So we're building a 55,000 or 60,000 square foot building off the cold mill to add 3 new annealing furnaces, some AGVs, etc. When we did that, we had to take down our old locker room area because it's where we got to do the expansion. So we're building a new locker room / meeting area over by the guard shack on the west side of the plant. That's kind of a description of the buildings that are popping up and why they're popping up. All in all, this increases our output. The numbers that were put into the funding was around 85 KT a year. That's varying with market conditions, so it's, you know, who knows what it'll end up being at the end, but it's definitely a capacity improvement. And that's the major investment. That's a $130 million investment of the 360 we talked about. There's other investments there. We're increasing our water capacity off the city water lines. We are at some point have to, well, Casey's working on the permitting pieces needed for the lake water intake, because we have to change up our screen size, and we have to come up with a resolution to that issue we've had over the years with the water that just caving in over time. So we have to rebuild that. There's a new lake water pump house in the plan. There's several office upgrades that they're looking at over the next 5 years. Not to mention, there's potential of other process upgrades that I don't know for sure are gonna happen because it's dictated by market, and it's usually revisited once a year, and that's where it gets on the plan. But there's potentially talk of growing our cold mill, which is another significant investment. It's twice as much the investment I'm talking about now. So there's some big dollars that are being planned for it. A lot of it's market driven. A lot of it is based on what the needs are for the business. So, does that sum it up? I mean, there's many other sustaining projects that I could go on and on and on and bore you guys to death with here.
No,
But
boring at all.
it's really cool. I mean, it's nice to work. I literally worked for 3 companies that were very poor, and capital was, it was like pulling teeth. And this company is just the complete opposite. It's been weird, obviously, with COVID and everything in the last couple of years, but for the most part, they're strong, they're profitable, and they've got a very, very powerful base backup through Adita Barillas, which is the owner through India. So,
Awesome.
Well, the project is helping to sustain the existing 1,119 full-time equivalent jobs that Novelis currently has. At the plant, this will be the IDA 4th pilot arrangements with Novelis. We've done, 3 with, 1 with a recycling project and 2 with the casting lines for automotive aluminum. So, it's great to be able to, provide some assistance. A big piece of that assistance is gonna be related to sales tax, exemptions, for the project. And, I know it was publicized that there was 130, but the real project is 339 million, so it's a little bit bigger than what was in the newspaper. So,
And just to add to what you were talking about, all the investment, all the work, all the stuff being done, there's a lot of local tradesmen working in that plant, even though they're not full-time employees. They're there working, installing, and maintaining the equipment, which is big for the building trades.
Absolutely, just an example, we were talking about CNS earlier, they are, on a maintenance contract with us. They're there full-time, all the time. The maintenance folks, you know, there's trades being brought in from the outside to build buildings and stuff that we don't do every day, but machinery, they're a great example of a company that's being, funded full-time by Novelis. And there's other trades as well, so.
Yeah.
but they estimated in their application it would be about 55 to 60 full-time equivalent construction jobs for over a 4-year period.
Absolutely, if not more.
Casey, did you have anything you wanted to share with us on? Or did John kind of sum it all up?
John got it all. One thing I think is worth mentioning is, Casey's become the campus planner. You might not fully understand that, but from our perspective, we have so many things changing at the facility. And, you got 5 different business units operating there, and somebody wants to put a building up, and now they go through Casey. Because if they don't go through Casey, they might find out that we already had plans for that particular area. Cause we're running out of area, we really are, real estate's precious at this point. I think we're in better shape now than I've seen in the 12 years I've been there in orchestrating and organizing that, facilitating it so that it's logical and meets the business needs, and we're doing it on a step basis, where before, we struggled because we'd go to put something in and find out somebody else put something in there and A's not talking to B or whatever, so we've gotten a lot better at that. Casey's really done an outstanding job in helping us facilitate that, so I'll speak on his behalf.
The other part of that is because these engineers are process driven, they may not know to reach out to the town for certain things, so I'm
That's
also
true.
kind of the liaison to make sure that we have building permits and stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good point, yeah. And we're trying to look ahead as much as we can. So I was talking to Casey the other day and he said ideally, working with the town, they'd like to know everything that's planned ahead. And I said, well, a lot of times we don't know what's planned ahead because the business hasn't told us yet. So the best we can do is give them what's been approved, and that's how we're operating right now. So that's typically a once a year thing.
That's where those Georgia boys are.
Yeah, exactly. They're calling the shots, so.
So the new pilot payment is in addition to the other pilots, this is not wrapping, this is just completely straight up brand new
It's a new-
additional.
This is based on it's a manufacturing UTEP, so it's based on assessed value, and it's based on an assumption of $3 million of assessed value being added. That's where these numbers come from.
Okay, does anybody from the board have any questions for Casey or John as far as the plant?
No other additional concerns were raised during the public hearing or anything like that, correct, the board, all town reviews?
Everything was good.
Yeah, the town of Scriba Planning Board approved kind of a global, as John was pointing out, different phases. That the town of Scriba treated it as 4 different phases. All approvals were granted. One point in terms of the agenda, there is a reference to a seeker resolution that because the agency was put on notice of the original site improvement plan project, the site plan that the town of Scriba entertained, there is not a specific need to adopt a seeker resolution because you allowed the town to take lead agency, you participated in the comments to it. So we've checked with folks at Barclay Damon. They concur that there's no need for a separate seeker resolution. That's been taken care of.
So we don't have to act on a secret
Not
resolution?
on the
Even
seeker resolution.
accept it, even accept.
No, I mean, you know, the notes can reflect that you concurred. I mean, you were an involved agency because you're issuing the benefits, and you participated right up front. It's kind of got out front of this one more so than we have before, but that's, I suppose, the benefit of knowing what's coming down the pike. So,
I did have one question. With that much increased capacity, are you looking at increased trucking, increased warehousing needs and things like that in the immediate area, or is that something that?
So that's an interesting question, because in our first public hearing, not the last one we're in, the one where Kristen sat in and other higher ups in the company sat in, that came up from the public. And the answer is messy. It depends on market conditions. I mean, generally, let's face it, yes, there's gonna be some increased trucking because there's gonna be increased output, increased input. The magnitude of that is not clear at this point. Because we're designing for 85 KT, but at the end of the day, it could be 10 KT or it could be, you know, probably not more than 85 KT because we can't run any more than that. But you don't really know without the market conditions playing into that. But I suspect there'll be some increased level, but I don't suspect it'll be a lot.
Won't be dramatic.
No, I don't see that at all.
And to be clear, the public hearing he was talking about was for our Title V air permit through the DEC, so that was a different sort of
Different.
public hearing, but
Right.
that concern was raised during that.
It was raised by a
City,
Citizen, yeah,
councilperson, yeah.
somebody that lived near there, that trust guy.
I guess it wasn't a concern, I guess
Yeah.
it was more of a,
Yeah.
just an insight to
It's a
see
legitimate
if there's
question.
more business to be had for the trucking companies, more business to be had for warehousing companies or
Yeah.
anything like that, or anything we could do to facilitate more warehousing or anything that you would need that we could help you with, I guess would be my reason for asking the question.
Yeah,
Not that as a concern about.
Yeah,
more
and
traffic.
that's actually a very interesting question you raised, because we are looking at potentially warehousing. One of the issues we have right now is we're running out of space. We're running out of places to put things,
Yeah.
like large ingots, and such, and we have to take, just to give you some inside examples, we have to take a 21-day shutdown next summer to put this motor in. That's huge. That's the longest this company's ever been down in the history of running since 1950s. To do that, you need a significant amount of space for your work in progress materials, right?
To lay down, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't run out of coils for your customers. We don't have it. So we're gonna be scrambling to do something during that period of time. We don't really know yet what. One of the things they're saying is, can you make it less than 21 days? I was like, well, we can only cure concrete so fast. But we're trying. But another thing is, hey, can we get some, warehousing space to put some of this stuff?
And I don't mean to interrupt, John, but that's maybe where you can work with Austin.
Yep,
and Mike
absolutely.
To identify locations and stuff. We have a few in mind that Kevin and I were talking about that might be able to help you facilitate your laydown areas for storage, so.
Okay, yeah, it's absolutely worth following up on for sure.
Mhm.
It's a great question, so.
Any other questions for Casey or John? Okay, you guys have any more
Nope,
comments or?
no, feel free to reach out if you do have any questions.
Okay, all right, so we'll, now Kevin, you said we don't have to act on the seeker, do we have to recognize it or just?
I think just the minutes reflecting that the seeker approvals were undertaken by the town of Scribe Planning Board, and the IDA was an involved agency in that process. That's really the
Okay.
extent of it. There's no need to adopt a seeker resolution in this case.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next bullet is the inducement resolution. Can I get a motion and a second on the inducement resolution, please?
I'll move it.
Okay. Motion by Nick Canali, seconded by Mark Greco on the inducement resolution. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the pilot resolution. Do I have a motion and a second on the pilot resolution, please?
I make a motion.
Motion by Tricia Peter Clark. Do I
I'll
have a
second.
second? Second by Len, Mr. Pilot Schick. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, the final approving resolution. Can I get a motion and a second on that, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, either way.
Motion by Barry Trimble, seconded by Tim Stahl. Are there any questions or comments on the final approving resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're all set, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for attending and bringing us up to date on it. And we're so happy you guys are investing another $300 million
Yeah,
here and
yeah, me too.
keep my son busy.
Yes, keeps all busy, right? All right, nice meeting you folks.
Thank you.
Yes, Morris. Yes, Morris.
Take care. Yep, you too.
I just want to make one comment. I was a friend with the guy that started Elcan back many years ago when he first started. And I just want to make that comment. It's a wonderful organization. It's grown into a fantastic operation. And the engineer was a medical engineer, was a friend of mine, was passed on. And I just want to know it's a wonderful thing that ever happened to that area.
It is. It's great for Scribe, it's great for Oswego County. Okay, Michael, is there any other than executive sessions, items that you need to address before you have to leave?
Don't we wanna do salary before we go into
We'll
the
do
next session?
You want to give them an overview of the Sheldon project?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
That's not a problem.
that's what I wanted to find out.
Notes here for this. So we held a public hearing yesterday in Village of Pulaski, town of Richland for this project. At that meeting, there were the only people from the public, so Matt Sorrell from Felix Scholler was there, and then the Yurden brothers, Herb and Kern, town supervisor and county legislator were there. Both spoke in support of the project, just wanted to find out a little bit more about their plans. There was no concerns about the project. And not sure, because I wasn't at your last meeting, I'm not sure how much detail was gone into about what they're looking to do there. But the project that they are taking on at this time is, for the last decade or more, they've just been really doing what's called converting. They've been taking large rolls, cutting them down into smaller rolls, and the manufacturing on site has been limited. Going forward, what they are doing is they are going to be installing a coating line, which is going to be for silicon coated release paper, which is used in all sorts of different industries, from medical to industrial. It's the production of tapes and graphics that have a sort of a silicon back to them so you can peel them off. And they see a lot of growth in that, to the point where they are investing a little over $24 million out there in Richland. 20 million of that is in equipment, about 2.5 million in site work, another $750,000 in renovations, and then the rest is sort of engineering and then a little bit of furniture and fixtures. They currently have a pilot agreement on that facility that goes through the end of this year. We were in talks with them even last year, and it's sort of taken them a while to kind of get this project nailed down. Project costs kept going up. It originally started a little less than $20 million, and it's crept up to over $24 million now. So what we have proposed, actually let's say the impact first. So with this project, they're creating 30 full-time jobs with a new annual payroll of $1.8 million. They're going to be retaining all of the 145 jobs that are currently on site. They also, there will be 15 to 20 construction jobs related to this, and sort of it's an expansion of an advanced manufacturing company in a rural area. And actually we see a lot of, between Healthway and them right now, we're seeing a lot of expansion out there, which is a good sign for northern Oswego County, the eastern part of the county.
And ConnexCare. Thank
Yes, and ConnexCare. I was just counting out the manufacturing, but cannot forget ConnexCare as well.
Growth.
So it's exciting time up there in the Pulaski area, and this we think is gonna They've also discussed that they're putting in infrastructure related to this project, which will allow them to do future lines. So if they don't do this project, they don't do future projects. So it's a good step for them to look at potentially doing a second coating line. That's not part of this application, and this approval, but if they do this, it's a good chance that they could do that in the future. So with this project, they're looking at sales tax exemption of around $320,000. The pilot is structured in a way that we are keeping their pilot amount at the same for 5 years, and then we're having a 2% incremental increase over the next 15 years in a 20-year pilot, which is typical for a manufacturer. The way we're structuring it's a little bit different, but the terms in terms of the length of it is very typical. And the reason we're doing that is because they're already on a pilot agreement, so it'd be difficult to try to structure our uniform tax exempt policy for them. It's a great project. I was actually at Manufacturing Day a couple weeks ago over at City BOCES. They were there. They were getting a lot of interest and excitement through people through PTAC and things, looking at their programs, and they're just a company that for a little while we were a little concerned in terms of that they weren't doing paper anymore and things like that, and I think this is a real shot in the arm for them in terms of growth and sustainability going forward. So
over the last 5, 6, 8 years, Scholler has consistently looked for other potential projects with their corporate headquarters in Germany. And they always competed with their Canadian operation for any potential projects. And this one, fortunately, they hit the home run on, and they won. They had the space available that was basically not being used for much of anything. But they're going to continue their converting operation, so that doesn't go away. So they still will have the converting operation along with the coating, and as Austin mentioned, with the possibility of a second coating line coming in a few years. So, which gives them a heads up by having a coating line over Canada in terms of competing for any additional expansion projects.
And this is going to utilize existing space that is currently vacant at that facility because of when they removed the paper mills and things. They had a lot of, almost a 600,000 square foot building, and they have large portions of it that are empty. So this is going to fill a portion of it that's almost the length of a football field. It's about 70 yards. So it's going to fill up some decent amount of space and really help them to get back into more manufacturing.
And one time they had multiple coating lines that they took out. So this is good.
Or they made paper there.
Huh?
They made photographic
paper. Yeah, it was pretty sensitive. Anybody have any questions for Austin as far as Schuler paper?
Straight up pilot?
It's a deviation from our UTEP. As I said before, we're taking the number that they're currently paying and we're freezing that for 5 years, and then in year 6 we're looking at a 2% incremental increase like we do for the solar projects, and doing that over 15 years. So it's going to be an increase of about 30% of the payment over those years. The other reason we kind of look at it that way is that they're potentially looking at doing another project down the road, and so. It may happen within that 5-year window. We're not sure. It's similar to Novella said. It's up to marketing conditions in some ways, but that was a model that was not. There was no concern from any of the taxing authorities, and it was also acceptable to the company as well. Looks like it's a good model for this project. They're not really going to see any increase in assessed value because they're working within the existing building, and the majority of the project is all going to be in equipment.
So they have a current pilot. When was that expiring, or when is that scheduled to expire?
That was scheduled to expire at the end of this year.
Was that a 20-year?
No, it was a 10-year because it was a much smaller project what they originally had done at that time. This is on the scale. This is much larger than what they had originally done.
So we have, you said, a 10-year pilot that is scheduled to expire this year.
Mm-hmm.
The current proposed pilot would freeze the payment at the same that they've received or have been paying in the previous, or was it last year, or I'm assuming?
It's been frozen, the amount was frozen for 10 years.
Oh, so they didn't pay any addition for the last 10 years either.
Correct.
So they're gonna have essentially 15 years of a frozen.
And then 15 years of increasing
And then
payments.
15 after that.
Okay, any other questions?
Just,
Yes,
just,
Mark?
I'm all in favor of this, but the deviation from the norm, is that gonna create a problem in the future? I mean, for other companies or anything like that?
I don't believe so. I mean, it's interesting because this is one that already has a pilot agreement on it, and they're doing a project, and outside of doing, because they're not adding new buildings or anything like that, it'd be hard to try to parcel it out and do it that way. It's similar to how we've done things with Nahutamaki in the past when they've done things, although with those, this actually has an increase on it. And so we're trying to build in an increase. We're also taking into consideration that there may be another project in 4 to 5 years that will add buildings and other things that we could then readjust and renegotiate that pilot agreement. But this also gives them value if they, for some reason, do not do that. We'll start to see that increase.
And Kern and Herb know about the pilot agreements, and they were fine with it at the public hearing.
Yeah, they were very happy to see Scholler expanding out there.
Any other questions? Okay, I guess we'll go down the bullets on the Felix Schuler paper for North America Inc. The first one is a seeker resolution. Can I get a motion and a second on the seeker?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mark Greco, seconded by Nick Canale. Any comments or questions?
And just to point out that we're doing a seeker resolution on this one because we were not put on notice by the town. So we've undertaken our own seeker review, and we're recommending a negative declaration be issued.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Bear. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the inducement resolution. Can I get a motion and a second, please, on the inducement resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tricia Peter Clark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Barry Trimble. Okay, is there any comments or questions on the inducement resolution? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Okay, next is our pilot resolution. Can I get a motion and a second on the pilot resolution, please?
I'll move it.
Okay, I have a motion by Len Schick. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Tim Stahl. Okay, is there any questions or comments on the pilot resolution? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And lastly, the final approving resolution. Can I get a motion and a second, please, on the final approving resolution?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion by Nick Canale, seconded by Mark Greco. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay,
Just for future reference, is Len supposed to be the first on all the pilots? Cause I think I trumped you on the last one. I'm starting to get the gist here.
Only manufacturing.
Oh, okay, alright, thank you. You could've kicked me under the table. I was drawing my motion. I got it.
don't even think, just jump right in.
Oh, no, I got it now. Sorry,
I have the
Mr.
most no votes
Schick.
from any,
So
of
far.
anybody ever. Yes, on pilots.
Alright, got it.
We don't keep that as a,
And I even
record
go-
for
and I even-
Paris report.
No, I know, I even move it when I vote no.
He does too.
He's a good parliamentarian.
Alright, got it.
Okay, Michael, is there any other agenda item that you feel you need to be here for before you?
We're back up to the executive session now.
Okay, so I guess at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, please.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tim Stahl, do I have a second? Second by Nick Canale. And Kevin, the reason we're going into executive session?
This is to discuss the financial history of a particular individual or corporation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session. At what time, Len?
10:42.
10:42. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. We're now entering into executive session.
Okay, we're out of executive session.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second to come out of executive session, please?
Moved.
Motion by Mark Greco, seconded by Nick Canale, come out of executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
11:29.
11:29, thanks, Mike. Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, before we move on, the business we discussed under executive session, Divine Designs. Can I get a motion and a second for a micro enterprise loan of $22,000?
Make a motion.
Motion by
I'll
Tricia
second.
Peter Clark, seconded by Mark Greco. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, now,
The pilot EDF motion to approve the report.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Do we-
report as written, the pilot EDF report, including the combination of the two line items into one that Mike made for
okay,
simplification
I'll
of
second
reporting purposes.
a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, Len. Okay, the number 9, Oswego PV LLC initial resolution.
Sure, so I'll give you this. This is a recent application that we received. So Oswego PV Project is a solar company that we've done some recent projects with. It's RIP Energy. John Raff is the one we've been dealing with. It is a 3 megawatt solar project caught on a little over 22 acres in the town of Oswego at 447 County Route 20. It's on the south side of County Route 20 between Bunker Hill Road and Cemetery Road. It's approximately a $5.1 million project. The parcel itself is about 78 acres, and the solar project's going to be 22.44. Maybe Kevin, do you know if this would be some sort of a courtesy split or something like that?
It would be, yeah.
Okay. So the courtesy split would keep the normal taxes on the portion of the parcel that's not used for the pilot agreement. They are applying for the standard solar pilot agreement that we have. And Barclay Damon has looked at the project and has determined the project to be eligible for IDA benefits. And with that, they've written up that initial resolution language. So I don't have that initial resolution language in front of me. I don't know, Kevin, if we need that for.
No, I mean, I certainly reviewed it. It's a standard initial resolution. I will say, I attended a public hearing last night on this exact project, and it's gonna be a tough one.
Really?
Virtually every neighbor surrounding it is opposed to it. Why they're locating exactly, well, I know why they are, because to your point, the Paloma substation connection is literally across the street from where this is sited. So it's a unique location in that regard. But there's many residential properties that are surrounding it. They're gonna clear cut 22 acres, that's the proposal. So that's got people up in arms. And just, there's many issues. So this is not, I mean, I think it qualifies, and I'm not necessarily, talking you out of at least approving the initial resolution, but this is gonna take some time if it does get approved, it's gonna take some time. They've gotta go through zoning with the town. The IDA, I believe, has already been placed on notice as an involved agency for that project. There's a variance that has to be granted by the ZBA, and a site plan and special permit approval by the planning board in the town. We had upwards of 40 plus people attending the meeting last night, including legislator Schott, who was also opposed to it. So, this is not going to be an easy one.
So ultimately, the town has control whether or not this goes through.
Well, right, sure. In terms of the zoning process, right. Yeah, this is quite different from Williamstown, which you did approve. Not that there was a ton of controversy up there, but there was enough questions. Here, I've never attended a solar project public hearing where there's been more criticism of the project and the location. So that's just
Initial resolution is just us getting the ball rolling, so it doesn't matter.
simply recognizes that this is a type of project that under the New York State General Municipal Law qualifies for IDA benefits. Doesn't mean that it's being granted.
Yeah, we wouldn't do an inducement resolution until the town process works out and they were to pass it favorably. So if it never gets there, then it never gets to inducement resolution.
Right.
Well, I gotta tell you, being from that town, I would be opposed to moving anything forward on this if that many people turn down, don't want it there, regardless of whether the zoning board or the town approved it. If the neighbors don't want it, they might not be on the zoning board or the town board, so I would reluctantly, I mean, I understand just moving forward is giving permission, but what would be the point? You know, I wouldn't support this moving forward at the end game.
No, it's not us giving permission or endorsing the project or anything.
I don't.
He's just
This
saying
is
that
just saying that
they're
the
eligible
project
for
qualifies.
benefits if the town and everybody, you know, give them the permits or whatever to move forward.
And let me say this, probably the one thing that didn't get much controversy was the fact that they are going for a pilot agreement and that the revenue generated from this project will actually be an enhancement in terms of revenue for the community. I don't think it makes up for all the other criticism, but that one part of it, the company clearly disclosed. I did give a very brief overview of the IDA's pilot deviation schedule as it relates to solar projects, and you know there weren't any critical comments of that. So that's about the only thing.
I did talk to Legislator Schad yesterday about it, and that was not her concern.
No.
So
No.
I agree. The pilot is the least of his concern to this issue.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
I just wanted to ask a question, Kevin, in terms of, based on last night, how long do you think that process would take to play out? Town level?
Well, the next, the zoning board is gonna take up the measure next. They won't do that until November 17th, which is the third Monday. It's their next regular meeting. They held a joint meeting of both the planning and zoning board just because we wanted everybody to be on the same page, hearing the same information. And all of the neighbors within 500 feet of the project were invited, and most of them showed up. And to a person, I mean, maybe a couple of them that you know were indifferent to it, didn't speak, but everybody that spoke had some aspect of this that they were not in favor of. Whether it was environmental issues because of the materials that are used to make up the solar panels, or the proximity to their the houses, the clear cutting of the woods, there was a whole laundry list of opposition and reasons for it.
Let me ask this, would we set up a public hearing prior to all of those local approvals taking place, or would we do that after?
I would not recommend it at this point. I think it just
so if we were to do an initial resolution, we would not also be looking to schedule a public hearing for the project?
Should we even bother with an initial resolution at this point? Wait until something else moves
I mean, we're not, I don't know when the next meeting is scheduled here, or what dates we had talked about.
Mike gave me some dates. He wants you to do it November 21st, 22nd, 23rd, or 28th, 29th, 30th. So you're talking end of November.
Yeah, I would, I mean, I think under the circumstances, I would recommend tabling this. It does qualify, but I would recommend tabling it, because the next meeting of this project is November 17th. And then again on the 21st, I believe. And by then, we'll probably know whether this is gonna happen, if the company's gonna dig in and say, no, we wanna go through the process, or they find another location.
I think that is wisdom.
So I don't have a problem either way, but so, in other words, we have a project we were given an application for, and it's a viable project, and we're saying, no, we're not gonna approve it. I mean, essentially, we're saying we're not gonna approve it, we're not gonna approve the application. That's what we're saying.
Well, my sense on it would be that we table it for one meeting and wait and see what comes out of the town and the feedback from the local people who live next door to the place.
Okay, I just wanna make it.
That would be my sense. I don't have any problem if the group wants to vote on this initial resolution now. The initial resolution doesn't commit us to anything at all. All right.
Right.
So we could move that step forward and take that step so it's out of the way. If the town does decide to go forward, we could move forward at that point quicker.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm only concerned that we have an application and we're saying no. technically we're saying, well, we're gonna wait as opposed to approving it. I don't go, I can go either way too. It doesn't bother me to table it at all. But I just wanted to bring that up, that, you know, we have a.
Well, in order, if we do the initial resolution and act on that, we don't act on seeker, you know, the pilot and all the other resolutions until after things are in place with the town.
Typically, what this does is allows them to set a public hearing.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So the point of doing this is to allow our staff to set a public hearing. And we don't wanna set a public hearing until after things are hashed out with the town, because we're gonna set a public hearing, we're gonna get 40 people coming and chewing down our throats.
We don't want.
And we don't need
I
that.
agree.
We don't need that publicity, we don't need any of that.
Especially for any type of zoning approval.
Right, yeah, you
You
don't really wanna hold a public hearing until you know that the town has approved it, because you're maybe just spinning.
So I think that.
We normally don't do that anyway.
Right.
We normally wouldn't do a public hearing until after the town or.
And, I mean, to your point though, Len, I mean, if I didn't attend that meeting and Tim didn't get a call and Mark was not necessarily aware of it, we'd probably just, you know,
Move forward.
adopt the initial resolution. But, I mean, you know, I'd be remiss, Tim would too, I mean, I attended the meeting, I was right there and, it's not,
Okay, I just wanted to make
it's not
that,
gonna go.
I just wanna make that
For any
point. I mean,
time,
table, it's fine.
Are there any timing issues related to them needing to have a agreement in place? I don't know if the
Credits and all that
well, the
stuff.
credits, but I'm also thinking, is the town putting any, or is the town of Oswego putting any requirements into that they have to have a pilot agreement with the IDA? Like some communities have said that they won't allow a project unless you do a pilot agreement, like Hastings has said that.
Nothing has been said in that regard, but.
What is the timing if we do the inducement resolution, what is the timing for a public hearing? Do you have to have it in a certain period of time, or can it be scheduled any date?
It can be scheduled, well, after
10 days notice.
initial notice period, but it doesn't get stale, in other words. So if it doesn't happen for another 30 or 40 days, if you did adopt it today, there's no consequence to that. You
get to 60 or 90 days, you got an issue, or?
No, it doesn't get stale, other than if the project scope changes in some way, which it very well could. That's my point.
So we could have two public hearings, have one because the project is currently at 3 megawatts and 22 acres, and maybe they change it to smaller project or change the location a little bit or something, and then
Move it further away from the road so that there's
whatever it might
less
be. Yeah.
infringement on the neighbors.
If it changed the initial resolution, we'd have to kind of go back to do that again too.
Of the 70 acres, are any of it already fields, or are
It's mostly woodlands. There's some wetland that is not implicated in the project, but it's directly behind. It's right at the corner of 7 and 20. If you know where the
7 and 20?
Yeah, where the town, well, roughly, it's that's basically that intersection and out. Beyond it, it's behind the town highway barn.
Okay.
In fact, the town is proposing to allow them to use access to get back there so as not to disrupt more, residents on 20. Because they do, I mean, during the construction phase, there's a fair amount of activity, and then it's, routine maintenance after that every quarter or so that, a truck will go down and, check on everything, but yeah, it's not, this one's gonna go through a process.
I think especially with that in mind, I think it would make sense for us to table it, wait to make sure that they're asking for us hasn't changed, which is reasonable. And again, if there is some sort of time constraint, we can obviously have a meeting to deal with it.
Doesn't seem like there is.
Well, and with the meetings that Mike's proposing for this board happening after those meetings, I just think it makes sense. We'll have a clearer picture after the next two meetings.
Do we have to take a vote to table?
No,
It's up to you.
I'll make a motion to table it till the next meeting.
Motion by Nick Canale, seconded by Mark Greco to table the initial resolution of the Oswego PV LLC. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay,
Gary, so let me know what day.
okay, I will, but I'll text you.
We still have a quorum, correct, for everybody? Okay.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
All right, so, number 10, the Oswego Industrial Park, grant application.
So, as you guys were aware, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I wasn't able to give the unfortunate update that the Build Back Better Regional Challenge grant was not approved. We did get better news overall that Micron's coming to the region, so I think in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather take that than the funding. But it does leave a issue of needing to find funding to finish the project. Because of timing, because of everything right now, the stars are really aligned, I think, at the state level, the regional level. I am recommending that the IDA submit a application to the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, which still has funding, still from 2015, to get funding to finish or at least to fill the gap of building out the industrial park. They may come back and offer something different or something like that, but I think that what I'm asking for is authorization to submit a grant or to put together a grant. If we need to, we can get the formal approval with the actual numbers at the next meeting. I do think timing is of the essence on this as we get to the end of the year and that regional economic development council meeting. But this could be a way to help get funding for not just the public infrastructure that we were looking to do under EDA, but potentially for some of the electrical and gas, which was not part of that EDA. So where our application to EDA was originally for $7.5 million for a $10 million project with $2.5 million from the IDA, this could become a $12 to $14 million application if you're including other, like a new substation, for example, which could be a $2 million price tag alone. And the reason we're sort of we're not sure exactly what the ask is going to be yet because we're still having conversations to see where other funding could come into it. And I don't want to tie it in and say it's going to be this and then say, well, actually it's going to be this. So what I'm asking for is the authorization to move forward with developing this. And I'll say I've already sort of put together a rough draft of it. But just to move forward because I think timing is going to be critical on this. I think the other counties and other entities within the region are going to be doing the same thing, trying to.
Is there any sewer and water tied into this aspect of this?
So what we had in our EDA application was the sewer and water within the expansion of the park. It was not for the village, but I have had initial conversations with Dave Turner to do some sort of a joint application, which could be to fill the gap on for the wastewater side at the village and town level, as well as do what we need to do in the park. Because I think we have a stronger application overall if we address everything and we don't have a big glaring weakness.
I agree with that 100%. And you weren't on vacation at the last meeting, but one of the things that we talked about was the fact that application that we had put in was denied, right? And that the town of Shrewsbury is looking to move forward with a separate project, okay? And the village is still looking to do something with their thing. It's my opinion, and I think some others at this table, that someone needs to get the heads together and make this make sense for the whole region, and not just the town, and not just the village, and not just the industrial park. And if we could take the lead on that with Dave's help, then I think that that is an important role that we could play.
What I would say at this point, just because of timing, we need to make it a definable project. The bigger this thing gets, the less control we have over it, and the less we're having to, or the more we're having to rely on other entities to make decisions, and then we're kind of stuck in the mud for a while.
I'm fine with taking this application that you're talking about and making it definable the way you're talking about. What I would encourage is, and maybe we can talk about this as the four of us afterwards, all right, is us taking more of a forceful role in offering to help, offer to assist, offer to guide these entities to make something that makes sense for the region and not just a small little piece, all right? So I think that whatever influence we can bring to bear and help we can bring to the table as far as grant writing, as far as, cash, whatever it ends up being, we need to express our interest and push ourselves and put ourselves into the conversation, okay? And I think that's the kind of leadership the county is looking for us to impart, and I think it would be helpful.
And Austin, you're gonna do this grant application yourself.
Yes. I'm using a lot that we already developed as part of this EDA Build Back Better Regional Challenge. We have a lot of that. We have the costs already figured out for, at least on the public infrastructure side from CNS. We have a couple of years ago when we looked at doing this, they had done some initial costs for us for the electrical and gas side, but because we couldn't include those in the EDA thing, we kind of said, hey, we'll put this on the side for right now and we'll focus on what we can get funded. I don't necessarily think we need to kind of go back and say, hey, we need these costs updated. I think with a lot of other things, we know what COVID did to costs, and we can kind of build in some contingency on that and just look at it that way and say, hey, we know it was this, plus we're gonna say there's some contingency on this, so we gotta get, and then, yeah. It's at least 30%.
At least 30.
Yeah, at least 30.
So Austin, you said a partnership. Partnership includes Phoenix.
I think it includes
County.
Phoenix, the county, and town of Schuylkill. I mean, we already have this intermunicipal agreement that we developed 2 years ago, and we have the players who have already been acknowledged and understanding, so I think we know who the
So
players
we
need
move
to be.
forward with that.
I think
The application.
it's because those partners have already been identified in this intermunicipal agreement, it makes sense for those to be. Now, the application, URI, I don't know if we can be the applicant for all of those entities. I mean, it's.
Does somebody have to be the lead agency or lead?
I need to talk to ESD about that to see if there's gonna be components that are different parts that are out of our control and out of our funding. Do we submit 4 different applications tied together? Or do we have some sort of a lead? I don't know on that. That's where it gets a little dicey.
The county would be more of an appropriate lead than.
Depends.
The tough thing is really an authority would be the appropriate
It would
option,
be.
but I think with the IDA under I think we may be able to. Now remember, we also, the county did apply for and was awarded that grant funding to start the discussion for authorities, so maybe we could, that came from ESD, so maybe that's a conversation we can have with them too.
Yeah.
Is there a deadline for this?
There's not, it's rolling, but I just, this money has been there since 2015, and the states really kind of looked at it as their piggy bank to pay for projects that they wanted to do, but since Micron is such a major initiative and priority of the state,
Get an influx.
we need to tie this to that. And I just think that, yeah, I mean,
Time is of the essence.
every
Infrastructure,
county in the region is gonna start going after this funding. And the state as well. I mean, the state's gonna say, hey, we have already allocated this money, and we wanna put more money into some of these things, so let's just take it out of URI. That's what they did with SORA and some of these other things that they funded, so.
So I'll make a motion to authorize submission of the grant application.
Okay, thank you, Tricia.
Second.
Motion by Tricia Peter Clark, seconded by Tim Stahl, for IDA authorization for the, URI grant for the Schuylkill County Industrial Park. Any questions? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Carried. And, just one thing I just wanna mention, we talked about dealing with the water authority, get the conversations going, so I'd like to just appoint, a committee to deal with this. Obviously Nick, Tim, Mark, and, Austin, you're gonna be part of it also, to, talk with county leadership and, start putting this together, something we've discussed for years. So, is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Mark?
He stepped out for a second.
Yes.
It was
He
his
stepped
baby,
out, he has
so I
baby,
think
so he's
he's okay with it.
automatically in.
Yeah.
So, alright, Mike had, given me some dates before he left for our next meeting.
Just a question, did you guys meet with the city of Fulton on the park, down there at Nestle's? You guys were gonna meet with, cause there was some issues with moving the building and all that and everything.
I talked to Mayor Michaels recently. We are, because we're also looking at, this project originally was a manufacturing startup facility, it was sort of general manufacturing.
Right.
We're talking about, sort of rebranding it as for this semiconductor supply chain, so we're gonna be meeting about that. Yep.
Okay.
Had that conversation.
Cause, yeah, cause there was an issue,
Yes.
yeah, I know there was some concern over that, I was just curious, okay. Sorry about that, Gary.
No, no problem. I forgot about that. Okay, so, right now, the dates, excuse me, Mike's looking at is just before Thanksgiving and just after Thanksgiving. Monday the 22nd, Monday the 21st, Tuesday the 22nd, Wednesday the 23rd of November, or after Thanksgiving, the 28th, 29th, and 30th. So,
I would steer away from the 23rd.
Yeah.
I'm better the week after, if possible.
week after, the 28th, 29th, and 30th.
Wide open.
I prefer not to do it on a Monday, but
Okay. How about Tuesday the 29th?
I can do it after, I can be here by 10. I teach till 1:30, so.
Is everybody good with 10 o'clock on Tuesday,
works for me.
the 29th?
Wednesday I could be here at 6 in the morning if you need. Tuesday I gotta be 10. Anytime Monday.
Kevin, you good with that day?
10 o'clock?
Len?
Fine.
Yes.
Okay. So, we're gonna go Tuesday, the 29th at 10 o'clock. 11/29 at 10 o'clock, because Mark likes to sleep in on Tuesdays. Okay, is there any other business to discuss? I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion by Mark Greco, seconded by Tricia, and, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Good meeting. So Mark,
Yes, sir.
when you were gone, I appointed you to 3